especially after practice 3 when I talked to you already after practice 1. So there's not a whole lot of conversation other than it wasn't a great day, but spring practice. And you're just playing offensive line right now is really just decimated, and we're just being smart with the guys that, the 2000 club, the guys that have got a lot of competitive snaps. You just got to be really smart, which I think we are being smart, even though you look out and see how awful it is when you're sometimes watching practice, but it's still the right thing to do. So I'll answer any questions for you.
Open up on the right here with Austin. Urban, that 2000 rep club, can you give us an idea of who all might be in there?
Yeah, sure. Taylor Decker's played 20. I have it sitting right on my desk. It's over 2,000 reps, and then there's a lot of guys that played. And the way I look at reps is in practice, for example, how many competitive reps do you get? You'll get, it's 12 at the end, because 6 and 6, and an inside rep you get about 10. So a competitive reps in practice, you're talking about 40. And so you're talking about a kid that has over 1,200, 1,500, sometimes 2,000 competitive reps. And the wear and tear, which I love it. I think we're on the cutting edge of just being smart about the wear and tear that the student athlete goes through. So we're being smart. And on offense, you have Taylor Decker, you have Pat Elfline. You have Nick Van Epp, believe it or not, it's close. He's real close. On defense, you have Josh Perry, you have Tyvis Powell. Surprised me, I didn't know how many reps he had. Joey Bosa's played a lot of reps. So that's an example.
When you have these guys sitting out, then obviously you're taking care of them. The benefit then getting extra reps for these young guys.
Absolutely.
Not just for this year, but maybe for 2016.
Yeah, here's the thing, and we just had this conversation. So the issue is, here's the issues, and this is we have to really think this through. You're losing a little bit of chemistry in the unit, because at the offensive line, you hear stories about the cohesive offensive line. When you hear that story, that's absolutely correct, which I think we're a great example the last 3 years, extremely close group that has a little chemistry going. You lose that completely because you're sticking some guys in there that aren't quite ready yet. And same thing with the defensive line. Those are the two areas that you just lose. So that's why sometimes it looks really bad. And today was not a pleasant one. And it's not, we're not going to blame players or coaches yet. That's coming, though, if we don't get better.
Second row, David.
Urban, a little bit of a bigger picture question, but Chris Borland walking away from the game last week. Armani's had some concussions and had to step away. The care and what everyone knows and awareness of concussions has obviously helped so much and improved, but do you almost feel like football is becoming increasingly under attack, that you have to kind of increasingly defend the game to some people? And where is this all going?
That's a good question. I remember I sat and visited with the commissioner of the NFL. He was a very good friend of mine, and the fact is that there's been, you lost some football players. My son, I'm on a personal level because my son's a freshman in high school, and I always go listen to the coaching and watch the coaching and make sure. I think a lot of that is about, obviously it's a tough sport, but also as long as you're being taught well, which I'm very pleased to say that he's been taught well from 7th grade on, and I listen and get right in him. Of course I care about other stuff too, but as a parent, all I want to do is make sure he's being well taught. So I think, anytime you play any sport, my daughter had a concussion in volleyball one time when they dove for a ball, and so I think the awareness, the amount of time being spent and resources being spent to do the research and everything, I'm proud to say at Ohio State, I can't imagine the school doing more than what we do as far as prepping guys, and our track record's pretty good with that.
Back row left, Steve.
Yeah, Coach, just a kind of a procedural question. You may not decide this till the fall, but Coach Warner was always down on the field working directly with his offensive linemen between series. Do you have an idea whether he'll be up?
Yeah, I'm going to keep him down. I've thought he's too good. He's you pull that one out now, you got a problem. And so no, it's and the good thing is the way we call plays around here. It's not a dictator. I call a good chunk of them, and Tim Beck's going to have to assume a lot of that responsibility, and Ed Warner's going to be the big. I'm the game manager. I'll call a bunch of the plays, and then Tim Beck's going to assume some of that responsibility that Tom had last year. But that's I went through that thought process, but he's, his value to pull him away from that group, and I don't know if you notice that the whole offense goes to him before they take the field for the last 3 years. And we can't change that right now.
Second row left, Bill?
Yeah, Urban, just in general, and I don't know if you've done this in your career before, but when a college coach hires a high school coach, what can that do in terms of recruiting, establishing relationships in that area where that coach comes from?
It depends on the high school coach. If it's a guy that's well respected, and I hired Kerry Combs, who was extremely respected in the Southwest, really the state of Ohio, and he had. First of all, he's a very good coach. Second of all, that was part of it. I want a great recruiter who's well respected in the state of Ohio. So depends on the quality coach, and certainly can have an impact.
Front row, Bill?
Yeah, Raekwon McMillan, I'm assuming will step into that middle linebacker role. What do you see from him so far, and how's his development?
Well, today wasn't necessarily his best day. What I've seen is a young man that since he got here, he's A1A. He's first class. He takes care of his business off the field. He's a guy that gels well, has natural leadership skills. He's what you go look for in recruiting. He's got some big shoes to fill. The guy that left here, Curtis Grant, maybe didn't have a stellar career. He had a stellar senior year, though. And so he's got some big, but his leadership, that's what, Curtis Grant, I was talking to him yesterday about. He wants to be a coach. He'll be a great coach, someday. And that's what he's stepping into. He's replacing a middle linebacker that was actually a coach on the field for us last year.
Could you may have done this last week, can't remember, go through some of the injuries, the more major injuries of key guys who were out this spring?
Zeke has a bone graft, and so they're being very cautious. Obviously, Braxton, they pulled back on him a little bit because they just don't want anyone to fall. Everything's fine, but a fall would be bad. Jacoby's had several things. I can't remember what he had done, but I don't see any Band-Aids on him anymore, so he's getting close. Dontre has a broken foot, pins out. I saw him running in the water the other day. Fly, no, he's good. We're just cautious.
And JT is cautious.
JT's doing good. Yeah, he's doing more than I thought. He would be much more limited, but he's getting every mini field and every 7-on-7 rep.
Front row, Tim?
Yeah, Urban, following up on what your staff, are you concerned at all, though, a little bit about the future of football, the way some of this stuff is coming at you guys from the standpoint of the board? I mean, what can you, like you were talking about your son's getting help, but what would you say that promotes the game? I mean, what do you see that's being done right?
Well, I think it's an interesting dilemma right now. I would imagine college football is right now as strong as it's ever been as far as a viewership, as far as, television, as far as, we played in the ultimate game, and I can't imagine a better atmosphere. We were fortunate enough in 2006 to be in it, and I'm not saying, 2014 was better, but there certainly was no drop-off on as far as that's a darn Super Bowl, man, as far as the build-up and all that. So I think you have two different dilemmas there. One, there is that issue that the good thing is I don't see anyone putting their, and you guys do, I don't know if you do more research than I do, but I don't see anyone, just hoping it goes away. It's not going to go away. And the game's safer now. Since I can give you 28 years of experience, the game is safer now than it's ever been, as far as, in our world.
Yeah. And the other thing, have the limitations y'all gone through for practice, for limiting contact and stuff, has that hurt the product, in your opinion?
I don't think so.
I mean, you're talking about how popular it is, but how have you gotten around that?
We had the fewest missed tackles in college football last year, and we work on it as much as anyone. And that was a sign. We've taken our whole approach to how we tackle. It was first brought on about safety issues. Our second was because it's functional tackling, and it's a low tackle now. And I think it's good. I don't think it's good. You ask Coach Ash and Coach Fickle who teach it now. And Coach Fickle, we had him present to the staff the other day, and he said everything he's ever been taught in tackling, they don't teach anymore. And it's all about, it's a low game now. And obviously that's, I don't know the studies, but I think we're having fewer issues.
Back row left, Matt?
I don't know if this is related, but you mentioned not a great day. This coming off of spring break. Any correlation to that, or was it just, as you said?
I'm sure there is. I don't like excuses, but I'm sure there's. It was a bad just like we do the call it the difference hand placement, where we were incredible that last year. It was awful today. And then we go to tackling, and I just watched it, and I was like, oh my, was that the same team that had the fewest missed tackles in college football? So there's reasons, and we can come up with a million excuses. The bottom line is today's Tuesday, on Thursday better be better. And the guys who make it better, the 9 assistant coaches, better get their groups going.
Slightly off topic, but the wrestling team, I know you
Awesome.
were involved with them. Just your reaction to what they
No, Tom Ryan and I are very close. He was at our national championship game. Our relationship is over the top. I just never really followed wrestling. I didn't wrestle myself. I always had great respect for the sport, the toughness and all that. Now that I watch it, wow. And Stever, what he did, I mean, my goodness. And I'm just a huge over-the-top fan right now of what our guys did. And I know the process he's gone through, the work that he's put into this thing. I wasn't here a week when he was in my office. Tom Ryan was, and we were talking about, how we can work together and all that kind of stuff. And I love him. I love his program.
Last 2 questions. Todd?
During our fine line, talk about complacency, and you have a day like today, run a fine line of grinding guys down in March with complacency after one bad day. I mean, does that just kind of tell us about that line you sort of walk in March?
Well, it's all philosophy too. It's we're firm believers in the way you learn, and the discomfort's good. And there's a little discomfort right now. That was not a good day. Complacency is comfort. I equate the two. When you sit in a meeting, you sit back in your chair, you're not really learning. When you're sitting on the edge of the chair, because you might get called on, and if you don't answer right, it could be a bad one. That triggers things in your body to start learning. So discomfort it's a learning opportunity, as our coaches know that. So when there's going to be discomfort right now, because that wasn't what we're supposed to be. So there's a couple of options you have. The option here is this discomfort, and we got to get better for Thursday. There's going to be a lot of pressure for Thursday's practice.
Going back to a question that Bill asked you, when Michigan comes in and hires an Ohio high school coach with their staff, is that something that you take notice of?
Sure.
And does that sort of throw down, the gauntlet, so to speak, that it's back on here?
That gauntlet's been thrown down back in 1800s. They hired a quality guy, a really good football coach, and I don't blame him. I mean, but do we monitor it?
Yeah.
Monitor everything,
Take
yeah.
notice of that.
Sure.
And last question. Doug?
Urban, you're talking a lot about how last year, few amount of missed tackles you had. That was Chris Ash's first year being here. With how far the defense came, how much farther do you think it can come this year? Where can?
Well, we didn't start. We had some bumps. We were far too many big plays last year. Overall, that was an impact hire. Chris Ash obviously is an impact hire. More than anything, the chemistry in that staff was really, really good. So was Larry Johnson. By the end of the season, that was his finest defensive football, as we've seen here. And when you start talking about Ohio State, there was a decade of brilliance at defense here. It kind of disappeared for a couple of years. And the last 3 games, that was Ohio State football. I can't imagine better defense. And so you have to evaluate why. First of all, it's players. Second of all, our coaches. And they did a magnificent job. It didn't look like it today. So we have to get back to that. But that was an impact hire.
And how much do you use numbers and sort of the analytics at all of football? And you're talking about the 2000, the reps and that kind of thing. How much more do you crunch numbers for any part of the data analysis of the game?
More than ever before. It's taken, that's where Coach Marotti, and he actually works in the United States military, as far as we put kids who wear GPSs now, amount of how many reps, how many miles they're running in a day. Hydration, a kid's not allowed to go practice unless they're hydrated. We check that every day. And 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years, you never heard of this stuff. And the Philadelphia, we learned a lot. I went and spent 2 days with them, and they're off the charts with that as well. And the results were good here. We had very few. Soft tissue injuries are a result of something. God didn't make your body to pull hamstrings, so something happened in the weight training, in the hydration, and the too many reps, and those are all watched like never before. And you look at, we had injuries last year, but not in the first group on both sides. And so you look at Ohio State football, the same starting line for 3 years now has finished the season. And same on defense. Now we had some, backups had some injuries, but that's a key. You take a starter out, now you're not as good. So we spend, to answer your question, like never before. It's amazing. If I showed you some of the data, which might be a good story someday to see and meet with Coach Mick, that might be something to do someday. Because it's like never before, including 2 years ago. Did you have a question?
I'm from Washington, so forgive the quarterback question, but
The state or the city?
the city.
Okay.
So
Just have to make sure we're all right. Not that I have anything against Washington.
It's pretty widely agreed that nobody's ever had, in the history of the game, had a quarterback scenario like yours, and you've never seen one to shy away from frontiers. I wonder if there's a part as a coach that you like about getting to face that, other than that they're all really talented.
No, it's all positive. And I watch them work together. And Tom Herman, I mean, and Tim's doing a good job. If you watch the three of them, they're always talking. They're always, like at practice, I just happened to turn around at Braxton and JT are talking about football. And then I saw Braxton walk up and hit Cardell, tap, nice job. And I just see that. And that's not common. That's not common. The only negative, and everything's positive. Talent, quality people, value to the program, investment in the program, check. Negative, two people we're going to have to watch. It's not like receiver, you can put three of them out there. So that's the only thing that's starting to eat away at me a little bit. It didn't for a while because you're just so busy. But now when I'm seeing what I'm seeing, and I have such great respect for all three guys. Thanks.
Thank you.